moon is moving away from you right now, about 3.8 centimeters a year, which is roughly the rate your fingernails grow. The number is known that precisely because Apollo astronauts left mirrors on the surface, and observatories have been bouncing lasers off them ever since, so the moon is already leaving. Slowly. But the real answer is far stranger. The question is not what the sky would look like without it. The question is what quietly stops working. And that list runs longer than you would guess, because almost none of it is visible from where you are standing. Start with the water. Twice a day, the ocean climbs up the beach and then walks back down. That is the moon pulling. The sun pulls as well, but only about half as hard. Remove the moon and tides do not vanish. They shrink to roughly a third of what they are now, which sounds survivable. For you it is. For the strip of coast between high and low water, it is not. That strip is one of the most crowded habitats on the planet, and everything living inside it is built around a rhythm that would stop. Mussels, barnacles, crabs, the entire shelf of life that seabirds and fish arrive to eat. Compress the tidal range and you compress the shelf, and everything standing on top of it comes down a level. Then the day stops getting longer. Tides are a break. Every time water drags across a continental shelf, friction bleeds a small amount of energy out of Earth's rotation, and the moon carries that energy away, drifting outward as it goes. Stephen Myers and Alberto Malinverno measured what the break has done across deep time by reading cycles preserved in ancient rock layers. Their answer, 1.4 billion years ago, a day on Earth lasted about 18 hours. You are living inside a slowing planet. The moon has been the thing applying the pressure. Take it away, and the 24-hour day you organize your entire life around simply freezes where it is, which is the only item on this list anyone would file under good news. Now the part that matters most, and the part almost nobody thinks about. Earth is tilted 23.5 degrees, and that tilt is the reason you have seasons at all. In 1993, the astronomer Jacques Lascar ran the numbers on what happens to that tilt without a large moon holding it steady. His models suggested it would wander chaotically, swinging across tens of degrees over millions of years. Sit with what a wandering tilt means. Not a colder winter. A planet where the poles periodically face the sun head-on, where the tropics freeze and the ice caps thaw, where a climate zone never holds still long enough for anything to specialize in it. Every living thing you can name is a specialist in a stable band of conditions. Later researchers pushed back on Lascar. They argued the swings would be smaller, that Earth's own rotation limits the damage. That argument is still running. What nobody argues is that the moon does nothing. Then there is the light. You grew up under street lamps, so this is the hardest one to feel. A full moon is around 400,000 times dimmer than the sun. For most of the animal kingdom, that is not dim. It is an instrument. Marie Dac, working in Lund, found that dung beetles roll their dung balls in a straight line by reading the polarized light of the moon. On moonless nights, they switch to the band of the Milky Way instead. A beetle navigating by the galaxy because its primary instrument went dark. Corals on the Great Barrier Reef release eggs and sperm on specific nights after a full moon. Millions of animals spread across hundreds of kilometers doing it inside the same hour, because the light told them when. Break the signal, and you break the synchrony. Spawning that is not simultaneous is mostly just food for something else. And every predator that hunts by moonlight, and every animal that hides from them by it, is running a calendar that would go blank. Here's the twist. Given all of that, you would expect humans to be the most moon-dependent animal in the list. The folklore insists on it. More births at the full moon, more admissions to emergency rooms, more crime, more agitation, more madness, which is where the word lunatic came from in the first place. Researchers have checked, repeatedly, across decades, across countries, in birth records and psychiatric admissions and police statistics. The effects mostly evaporate under examination. What turns up instead is a memory bias. Staff, on a busy full moon night, remember it. And the quiet full moon nights leave no trace at all. so the moon does close to nothing to your mind, and close to everything to the ground you are standing on. You have the dependency exactly backwards. The real one is visible this week, if you look at the correct things. A tide table taped inside a harbor office, a mussel someone scraped off a rock, the fact that your alarm goes off at the same hour it did yesterday, because the length of your day is set by a break you have never once felt. None of that is folklore. All of it is the moon, filed under physics instead of mood. There is one more thing you would lose, and it is the only item on the list that is purely aesthetic. Total solar eclipses happen because of a coincidence. The moon is about 400 times smaller than the sun, and sits about 400 times closer, so the two disks appear almost exactly the same size from here. That coincidence is temporary. As the moon retreats, it will eventually be too small to cover the sun completely, and total eclipses will end. Not in your lifetime. But they will end, and there will be nobody to appeal to about it. The moon was not always this far out either. It formed close, probably from the debris of a collision between the early Earth and something roughly the size of Mars, and in its first stretch, it hung enormous in the sky and hauled tides that would have run for kilometers inland. Everything since has been a slow withdrawal, which leaves the strangest part of the whole question. The moon is leaving anyway. 3.8 centimeters a year is slow, but it is not zero, and nothing stops it. Long after anything that could reasonably be called human, the tides will be weaker, the days longer, the tilt less certain, and the eclipse is finished. The disappearance is not a hypothetical you can pose on a quiet evening. It is a schedule. You are simply living in the early part of it. Look up tonight, and you're not looking at a fixture. You are looking at something on its way out, moving at the speed of a fingernail, and it has been doing that for 4.5 billion years without asking anyone.